Ladies and gentlemen, it is the one and the only Sir Hell Speaks in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Sir Hell Speaks. What's going on, everybody? It is a great Monday evening. I hope that you guys are doing well. It is about 6:10 Central Standard Time. I hope that you guys are well where you are. It is good to have you on. Tonight, we're going to have a really good conversation. Really good. But before we do this, let's make sure that you're coming into this stream and that you hit the like button. Let's make sure that if you're not subscribed, come on, you know what time it is. Let's subscribe to the channel and let others know. We're going to have a really dope conversation. I've got a great guest, and we're going to talk about Carlee Russell and the whole debacle surrounding DeSantis as it pertains to this whole concept that slavery somehow benefited Black people. So we're going to have a good conversation tonight. So you guys join in and let somebody know that we're going to have a great conversation. To help me dig into this, whole thing that's going on with Carlee Russell. You guys have, if you haven't heard about the story, we'll tell you about it in just a minute. To talk about these issues, I've got a good friend on here who's going to lend his perspective as we have a dope conversation. But before we get to this, I've got to show some mad love to the subscribers of the channel. Much love to our members of the channel and to the moderators who were in the chat as well. Much love to all of you. Glad that you're here. It is good to see you tonight. All right, guys, without further ado, let's bring up our guest. The one and the only, the world class is in the building, ready to share his perspective tonight. Show your love, everybody, in the comments for the world class. He's in the building. What's going on, brother? Oh, I think you're mute.
Doing fantastic, jacked up, motivated, excited, ready to win. How you doing?
Excellent, man. Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. All right, so listen, we got a lot to jump into. This show was specifically going to be around what I read about DeSantis, the article that came out, I want to say about almost a week ago now. But there's been an update to the whole Carlee Russell situation, and I've got to get your thoughts on it. So chat, do me a favor. If you guys in the chat have heard about the whole Carlee Russell situation in which a young lady, 25 years old, made a phone call and pretty much set up a scene as if she had somehow been abducted or kidnapped, and it generated nationwide coverage, as they were looking to find this young woman who really wasn't abducted, but it later turned out that this was all fabricated. Put a one in the chat if you guys are familiar with this story. If you guys are familiar with this story, put a one in the chat. Salute to the Quiet Storm. Good to see you. Good to see Quiet Storm. Salute Angel Ford. Hey, Lady Navarre. Bravo with Sheila. What's going on? Okay, good. Okay, guys. So the whole story was this young lady, Carlee Russell, who you guys heard about. She ends up lying about her being abducted, set up the whole scene because of some personal issues going on in her own life. And this generated national coverage. People were looking for her. And this, of course, pulls on the strings of the issue that a lot of women are actually trafficked, and it goes unreported and they don't get any coverage. In this situation, this young woman who fabricated a story garnered this attention, and we later comes to find out that this is fabricated. And so recently, her attorney releases a statement in which Carlee Russell essentially says the words that I think just should let her off the hook. It fixes everything. It makes good use of taxpayer dollars. She said the two words that I think everybody should just let her off the hook. Let me tell you essentially what she said. She's sorry. So before we get into anything, world class, let me ask you, in hearing the story of Carlee Russell for the first time, what were your thoughts when you first heard of the scenario? What were your thoughts?
Maybe Jesse Smollett type of concept. Like, I haven't really gone through and listened to the story. I've just got bits and pieces of it from different content creators. But I not really haven't even heard it. I've seen memes and stuff I don't even really know what she said, but apparently she seen a baby. She seen a baby, and then she went to get the baby, and then somehow her and the baby got kidnapped. I have no idea. I just stuff like this. This has been a bad month for Black women. I'm just gonna go and say that right now. It's just hilarious. This is Jesse Smollett's little cousin, and she needs to be stopped. I agree with her though. She says she's sorry. I agree. I think she is sorry. She's a sorry person. Waste all these people time like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all in the chat, what do you guys think about that? Essentially, it's what World Class says. She does this, and guys, this is such a big issue, and I want to highlight this because there are so many women who are actually trafficked. Like this
Yeah.
really is a thing, and situations like this can create trepidation for people who actually need the support. And so I want to highlight this, not necessarily to talk about Carly Russell. Now I want to go in on it because I'm disappointed, but the bigger issue, and I don't want anybody who's listening to forget the bigger issue, is that there are real women, and I don't want us to take an event like this, and now we don't even believe when you hear somebody's trafficked because the first thing you go to is, well, Carly Russell lied, right? This is to me why this is so infuriating. A World Class, can you share that same perspective where it can be infuriating for women or families who have women who have disappeared, they haven't got any national coverage, and if they've gotten coverage, it hasn't been to the degree where it should be, and essentially she can do this, fabricate a story, and say she's sorry, and life goes on.
Man, I've seen guys be difficult with police and get beat up, for less. So this situation is infuriating. It's like this weird type of boy who cries wolf situation, to where women that's gonna be in this situation are not gonna be taken serious. And this is kind of what men have been saying. Like y'all have to deal with your own. We're not saying the manosphere type of area in YouTube is not saying what they're saying for literally no reason. These are the type of things that we've been saying, that these women just say anything, do anything, and then, oh, I'm sorry, it's okay, and then go back to your regular life. It's disrespectful because you can't do that on your job, but you can do that outside in the city, in somebody else's city, and waste resources. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. I don't understand it. I don't understand why you're not. I don't. There should be charges. I've seen people get charges and get hurt for less by these authorities.
Wait, so let me make sure I'm hearing this right. And chat, y'all get into this as well. Do you guys think that there should be charges pressed against Carly Russell for the story she created and for the fact that there were actual literal dollars put into something that was contrived? So, Aurora Class, your statement is she should be charged.
If you give false information to the IRS, if you give false information to the police, you can be charged. That is the thing. So if you're giving false information, knowingly falsified information to the government, there's charges. They should at least be filed. If not, then you kind of encouraging the behavior. Yeah,
but she's sorry, World Class. I mean,
I agree. She's sorry.
She's of a contrite heart, and she recognizes the error of her ways. She should still be charged.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, you got to set an example. You got to set an example. So people, the women of the United States of America can take the legal justice system seriously, because it doesn't right now. So they just think they can just say anything and walk out scot-free. Yet, those same mothers, they don't let their children off the hook. They beat them up. So there's that. You know what I'm saying?
So guys, that's a good point. And it's difficult because if you go back, and let's just go back a couple years, what was one of the premier statements of 2020, 2021? It was believe all women.
Yeah.
Now listen, I believe that there is a degree that we have a law, and this means that you were innocent until proven guilty. If we go by simply believe all women, then things like Carly Russell did, it makes sense why she doesn't get, she's not penalized for it. She's not reprimanded because we believe, but in that belief, there's no accountability. Do you see, just in terms of the scrutiny that she's gotten, does it appear that there is a lack of accountability, even just from the attention that it has gotten? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I haven't really seen her responses to anything. I just seen people's responses to it, and from our side as men, these are the things that happens. Like, this is being compartmentalized to just a kidnapping, but we deal with this in family court. We've been dealing with this in precincts where a woman is just saying something just to say something for whatever reason she's saying something, gets caught, and not until she gets caught, she's saying, "Yeah, I'm just playing," you know. So that's the perspective I've gotten. Not so much what women may be saying about it, but it's on y'all to hold um, y'all own accountable for things like this because you lose credibility. I have less reason now going forward, especially the young boys. They got less reason now to believe it. Something this big, this popular, for what? For what? A lie? I don't. You know, it's up to y'all. Y'all got to make a decision on what you know, as women, what your credibility is going to be on this planet. Because girls like this, you got to understand, she's 25. So she didn't start doing this. This is just the big thing she got caught. So she's been doing this for a minute. And how many other young women have this type of mentality where they're just gonna just say anything, just to say anything? Like, what's the motive? Is what I really want to get to the point where she explains what was her motive. That's the main thing. That's really what I'm waiting for. What was your motive for doing it? What is the point? For attention? You think a girl that looked that cute is she's short of attention? No. Like, what is the point? I don't understand. It's scary actually when you think about it.
So, Workcliss, are you suggesting that there may be a need for some professional help? Maybe there's something going on in life, or something that would cause her to do something like this?
No, I think it's just normal. I don't think she's has any special type of mental issues. I just think it's just normal thing to have this, what I call the disease of consumption. You just consuming attention and consuming attention. It's like, what's the next high? What's the next high I'm gonna get from just saying anything? So it just elevated to a point where it's gone viral. I don't think she wanted to go viral like this, but they get away with so many things, man, just on a day-to-day basis. That you probably thought nothing of this. I don't think she thinks this is extreme. I think this is normal. And I think she's normal. It just happened to catch, national attention.
Everybody in the chat, I want you guys to understand how disturbing yet truthful what World Class just said. We're at a space in our history where absurd behavior is just normal. It is just what it is. And if you get attention for it, it's even better. It's amazing. So World Class, good stuff. But guys, we're getting ready to take a switch. I got to bring up something. You guys know where the show is predicated on something that DeSantis approved, essentially, is for Florida to essentially. Let me play something first. I'm going to come back with some commentary. I want to give a special shout out to Bravo with Sheila, who shared something with me yesterday that kind of ties into what we're going to be talking about today. This is not for sensitive ears, so viewer discretion is advised. So I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to share this, and then I'm going to come back and World Class. We're going to dig in a bit. Okay, give me just a second. This is something that Larry Reed shared some time ago, but it is relevant to the topic today. Black people benefited from slavery. Keep that in mind and listen to what I'm about to share. It's going to blow your mind.
If it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree. I thank God for slavery. If it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree. I thank God for slavery.
I want you guys to hear what was just said. This woman in a church, if you guys missed it, I want you guys to look at the scenario. This woman in a church, she says she thanks God for slavery. And here's the rationale. Here is the rationale for why she's grateful for slavery. Here it is. If you guys watched I forgot the name of the movie, but essentially there was this indoctrination where slavery was somehow good because Black people were somehow evil or somehow bad. And it was this indoctrination that made it easier for Black people to accept the atrocities of slavery and to not question it. And for people who imposed their will on black individuals and black people and made slaves didn't feel any remorse for it because we inserted some type of spiritual, some type of godly principle that made slavery okay. So listen to what she says. She is in church. Guys, this is not the 1960s. This is not the 1950s. This is current stuff that we're hearing even in 2023. I want you guys to listen again. Listen again to what she says in church.
If it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree. I thank God for slavery. If it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
You muted. You muted.
The reason why this is such a difficult thing to hear and without being a bit enraged is because it shows the first thing that I heard was not that she thanks God. Let me tell you guys what I hear is so many people have no idea about Africa.
Yeah.
Most people think that in Africa is all this weird type practices, there's this weird stuff going on because we don't have historical knowledge. I'm not talking about from movies, not from Shaka Zulu, not from the movies that talk about Africa, but I mean real Africa. Most people don't have any experience from it. We get our information from movies and television, and then we spew it into sermons like this. We wrap it into I thank God to get some amens. And it sounds like we're intelligent, but all we're doing is spewing out our ignorance. World Class, when you heard that, what was your thought upon hearing that?
I hope when she said that, I just wanted her to fall off the stage a little bit, and not get back up. It's crazy that she said she didn't want to be worshiping trees in Africa, but you worshiping weed in America. So it's kind of, I don't understand how that goes together. I don't want to be a part of it. And it's weird because your Bible that you got and your Christianity, your Catholicism, your Judaism, it started in Ethiopia. They have the oldest Bible on the planet. So to your point, they don't know anything about that. And they don't understand anything about slavery. People don't know history. Fire your history teacher. People don't understand what history is about. It's deafening. It's just disgusting. I don't understand how you. I don't understand how you be thankful for that. I guess the spin is that I guess she'd rather thank the God that she's praying to in her church versus a tree that nobody does. Nobody. I don't know no religion that worships a tree. Okay. TV. I guess maybe TV told her that.
She just making up stuff.
It's making up.
You absolutely right.
Like she did her hair.
Right. So yeah, Chad, what did you guys think? Chad, I want your honest opinion. When you guys heard that clip, what went through your mind? And I want to make this declaration that this is not all churches. Churches that are filled with intellectuals, people who understand studies, and people who are scholars. This is unacceptable. This is something you have to, that will be addressed. So this is not an indication of all churches. So please don't let that cast aspersion on churches worldwide. But Chad, what was your thought when you guys saw this? As you guys are pondering this, and I'm going to play it one more time for emphasis, I'm going to move to the next thing.
I thank God for slavery. If it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
It gets worse every time.
Every time you hear it. Yep. So guys, you guys have heard this. So you hear this is a black woman whose descendants of slaves who comes, there's a potential where her people come from a lineage of people who were slaves at some point in some capacity, experienced segregation, experienced what it was like to have to go around the back into buildings and not be able to go into the front, have to get the leftovers, had to drink from different fountains. I mean, missed opportunities because of their color, just to name a few. I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't echo her same sentiments. What do you think about that?
She thanks God that her people were kidnapped from the life that they were living, according to the way God told them to live. All of their belongings took, all of their history wiped out, their nationality, their royal crowns, all of that gone, their babies thrown in rivers as a game to alligators. Great. She thanks God for that.
Because, but don't forget the reason though, world class. This is important because
She
if it
ain't want
wasn't for slavery, she'd be worshiping a tree.
where she gets her food and oxygen from.
It's this is the world we live in, guys. This is the world. Now let's speed this up to DeSantis, Florida. They, you know, of course, you guys already know that there is a sort of movement, and I will say this: that it is not a very I won't say that it is as embraced as a lot of people want to believe, but this whole anti-woke, and what this asserts is that is stop wrongdoings, like stop imposing those wrongdoings of white individuals, people who owned slaves and perpetuated some of the atrocities to black peoples and black people and minorities, like stop essentially making those wrongs, stop putting those wrongs on their kids and employees. That's what woke essentially stands for. And so with this, there was something signed into that hasn't gone into full effect yet, but essentially where Florida is teaching in their curriculum that black people benefited from slavery. Why? Because it taught useful skills. Guys, this is where, and I'm bringing this up because of a couple things, right? Because it's so easy for me to just put on a stream and I'm going to go in on women aren't traditional, women aren't submissive, and all this stuff is true. But as I look at this, as I look at the wide lens of stuff, we're so busy trying to fix unsubmissive women, and this kind of stuff is happening that's going to affect the long-term development of our children. And so Florida is, they are now essentially going to be teaching that slavery was useful to some extent because it taught skills, for how to become, skillful, like a blacksmith. World class. Before we move on, let me ask you a question. On hearing this, what are your thoughts upon hearing that?
My first thought is benefits. So it's supposed to be a benefit that they got useful skills in comparison to the skills they had before you enslaved. So how would it be a benefit? I think you have to have a net gain of some sort. It's supposed to be a benefit. It's supposed to get more than what I had before. We actually built the entire world. Medicine, we were healthy. We didn't have nothing. You got to understand, right? When this is like people that know history know this part I'm about to say. Before we were so-called enslaved, which I completely disagree with, we had no debt. We didn't have a such thing as child deletions. Very rarely did we have sicknesses. Most people had about a good 15 trades. So just doing what white people want you to do is not a useful skill, because that's really what it's going to boil down to. So it's insulting, to be honest with you. Especially when you know world history, Moorish history, that we the people that invented all of this thing, arithmetic and all of that. So it's extremely disrespectful. Extremely disrespectful. Right.
Absolutely. Chat, everybody who's in the chat right now, glad that you guys are here. Hit the like button. What is your guys' thoughts on this particular article on what's happening in Florida? And I'm going to read a little bit for you so you get some context for what's going on. What's your idea? Particularly if you're in the school system, you have children, you're a teacher. What are your thoughts on this? So Florida public schools will now teach students that some black people benefited from slavery because it taught them useful skills. Part of new African-American history standards approved Wednesday that were blasted by a state teachers union as a step backward. I agree that it's a gigantic step backwards. The Florida State Board of Education's new standards includes controversial language about how slaves developed skills and which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. According to a 216-page document about the state's 2023 standards and social studies posted by the Florida Department of Education, other language that has drawn the ire of some educators and education advocates include teaching about how black people were also perpetuators of violence during race massacres. Now, guys, this is This is very interesting because what this does, there's a difference between, it gets worse. This is terrible. It gets worse. There's a difference between lying about history. You can deal with lies, but the ugliness of this is the gaslighting of the painful past of slavery that African Americans have suffered. World Class, what are your thoughts on what we just read? Chat, what do you guys just thought on what I just read?
I need you to read the last part again, or just bring it up. I
Sure.
can't. I just know in hell. There's no way in hell. This black people were also perpetuators.
Yeah, other language that has drawn the ire of some educators and education advocates includes teaching about how black people were also perpetrators of violence during race massacres.
Jesus, the people that couldn't buy stuff when they needed. They couldn't buy things on their own. They couldn't sleep when they wanted. They couldn't break eggs by mistake. They couldn't leave the yard, leave the premises. And it's, it's crazy. This town that we really dialing in on, like the picture they showed, you don't even call black people that. It's a lot of things. It's mainly called Negro. It's a lot of fake witchcraft going on with that. And I don't appreciate it. But to say that we were perpetuators of it, you mean fighting back? I think that's what
that actually is what it was. We were fighting back in defense of what was going on, not perpetrating the violent crime. It's absolutely correct. You're absolutely right on it.
That's wild. It's crazy. This is wild. This is so tough. You know what, Sir Harold? We lived in the time during this time, COVID, and we had a so-called black president. We gone through a lot, 80s baby. So if you're an 80s baby, pat yourself on the back. Because we've been through a lot. Y2K, it's a lot going on. This is a lot. This is too much. We definitely need some type of reparations in the check for this.
You're right, and this is why I wanted to bring this up, because here's what I think is happening: is if we teach about slavery and the atrocities, then kids who are 4th, 5th, 6th generation from slavery, they don't have that information because oftentimes parents want to shield their children from that past. So here's a question that I have for you and for the chat as well: is it necessary, from your perspective, for both black, white children, anybody in America, to understand just how ugly slavery was?
Absolutely. It's no question. Because I think people think, like, we watch so much history through movies that are just scripts, and it's always a cute ending, but that level of aggression and violence has never stopped. And we have these fantasies, these consumer experiences where we just like, yeah, I'm going to go to the store and everything's going to be safe. But you hear often that it's a lot of violence going on. So the causes of that violence, of that time frame, the mindset to stop other people from doing what they want to do and make them do what you want to do has never stopped, right? And Francis Cress Welsing, from our perspective, gives I think, the one that gave the best concept on why that took place for genetic survival and genetic superiority. It has nothing to do with whether they like your skin tone or not. It has to do with genetics, that we can't exist at the same time. If we make babies with them, they become Drake. And you know what side Drake picks. You know what I'm saying? So it's about that, and that's not going to change. So being able to buy stuff or work a job or make $1 million, that has nothing to do with why that started in the first place. And our babies need to know that. I don't care if their babies know that. It's not my problem. It's none of my business. Ours need to know that it was violent and it was vicious, and technology, a TikTok or some 5D technology is never going to change that. It's about genetics at the end of the day.
So let's speak to this. Two more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. I think one of the issues is preventing the guilt that's associated with these atrocities, right? So a lot of individuals who would advocate for a sort of whitewashing history are doing so because they don't want their white children to carry the shame and guilt of their ancestors' action. Is that a legitimate reason for them to to teach the benefits of it, or is that simply a gross attempt at politicizing the decision to whitewash history? What's your thought?
It's that. It's exactly what you just said, word for word. But what I'll add to that is that it shows their comfort. It shows that they're comfortable pushing their agenda, that type of agenda where it's clear that they're just doing it so they can make themselves feel better. So they can just convince us to stop reminding them. That's all that's about. So they've gotten to the point where they think we're so docile mentally that they can run this game in front of us. Like our elders are dead, the people that stand up and say something are dead, and not gonna, or I should say, the children not listening to the elders anyway, not listening to us. You know what I'm saying? So and I think it's strategically placed. I think certain things have happened, and they're looking at certain results, TikTok, attention span, to where they're like, you know what, I think we can get away with it. So it's definitely what you said. That's obviously from their perspective that, yeah, I don't want to feel guilty, but we're not here for your feelings. You're not going to take our history and just make it again your consumer experience. We're not here for your consumer experience. Our history is vast, and our people need to know what we've been through and what we did do. So we did some violent things, but at the same time, we went through a lot. You know what I'm saying? We went through a lot, and it's not gonna. But we're old. Put it like that. We're old, and that, the other thing is this. I know I'm long-winded, been long-winded right now, but a lot of it is the education itself. Like, this exact thing is the problem. I think we continue to forget that these people we call European are colonists. They are not American. They're not from here. Two colonist babies coming and making a baby makes another colonist baby. They're not from here. So their education system that they have is for their colonial colonist education, and that's them telling it from their perspective. We have the right to tell it from our perspective and be in those places, in those churches, mosques, temples, synagogue, where we can get our real history. So as bad as it seems, at the same time, let them do what they need to do with that, and then we have to have our own history and understand our history from a real perspective, along with understanding how the other aspects of education, science, and grammar. So.
Absolutely. So this is good. This is good. Everybody, if you're just joining in, hit the like button. It's important for us to talk about racism, and I'm gonna tell you why. Like, because if we start really thinking about this and we get it off of the more individualistic experiences with racism and really deal with what critical race theory deals with, is with the sort of the codification of racism, which is apparent in institutions, and is apparent when you go and you look at the world at large, right? I think it's important for us to deal with this because it exists, and just because it's ugly and it's uncomfortable to talk about, and it makes us have to look back at a time that was just dark and ugly, it's important for us, if we're going to continue to build on the steps that we've made, that we can't start erasing the parts of history that we dislike. Yeah. Because if we do, what we're trying to build is going to crumble. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's integrity is one of those things where when you lose it, you can't get it back. You got to create something new. So, those of us that have the benefit of learning real history, as distinguished from what they constantly teach. We learned that there was a lot of book burnings, especially during wartime. I mean, times back in war, back in Troy, they always burn books, burn libraries. They take the information, and as they say, the history is written by the victor of war. So we've lost so much history, just world history, that undermining tactics like this, it's insulting to scholars around the planet. You know what I'm saying? That just wants the purity of history to be preserved. And from a national standpoint, because our people need to start thinking like nationalists for us. You know what I'm saying? And we have to protect our posterity. And it seems like there's, a lot of people need to be, that's why I named my channel The World Class, because eventually I'm just giving the little things so people can get the big picture later. But you have to make a world claim, on an international level, and understand and bring accurate information that is backed by history, ironically, that you can prove in these world courts, again on the international stage, to be able to claim your portion of this planet that belongs to us. And these are attempts to continue to take it away from you. The genocide, the racism that happens, guys, you have to understand that it is to make you uninheritable. Like, regardless of where you think you come from, you are an heir to some landmass, to some crown, to some amount of wealth. When you position yourself, and when we position ourselves, claim our peace, a lot of this stuff will stop. But a lot of what they're doing is to keep you in a mindset to tick for tack with them, like this article, so you don't understand, recognize those things, therefore be recognized internationally for who you really are. So these identities they have, I heard philosophical last week telling you, a few things. These identities that they created comes with that. These are the things that comes with that. Guys gotta get caught up. Gotta get caught up on what's going on. You have to be abreast. Finding out the next Nicki Minaj, Sukiyana BS is not going to help you move forward. Passing bills that have nothing to do with what's going on in life, it's not going to change it. You have to know who and what you are. Protect yourself from the rest of the world like everybody else does. Like Indonesia does, like Taiwan does, like Zimbabwe does. We have to protect ourselves from everybody else. And information and data, go ask the government, go ask anybody that's been in the government. The new war, world war, is intel. Stop letting people play games with your intelligence and create our own intelligence agency and entertainment arena like Jordan Peterson has. You know what I'm saying? So we got those opportunities. We got people smart enough to do that. They're going to take the shots like they're doing now. But you have people that are scholars that can rebut all of these things. It's not that bad, but we know when they're doing things like that, those children in Florida, they're going to hear this BS because some mom and some dad are going to be lazy and use free public school for as a daycare, and they're going to get indoctrinated with fake crap. They'll grow up and thinking, oh, but slavery was good. No, these slavery, it was your ancestors. Where you get your face from. Our face comes from these people that they're saying benefited from this abuse. You know what I'm saying? And dehumanization. And I'll say this and I'll stop. Again, I'm saying it a little bit more frequently. Our people didn't go through slavery. Our people went through dehumanization and denationalization. Dramatically different from slavery. You can look at slavery in the Bible. You can look at slavery in history. What we went through was not slavery. They just call it that. To be able to get away with the crimes, war crimes that they committed against indigenous people. We went through dehumanization and denationalization. And we have to recognize that problem to start dealing with. It's a lot of the things that, along with this, like they're doing with this, we're still in the process of being dehumanized. We've had 24,117,000 child deletions since 1973. It's not human. You understand? So the way we eat, the way we treat each other, we have to acknowledge our condition and then work accordingly. If you are riding in the car and you have symptoms of car jerking and stuff, right, you're not going to go get a paint job. You know what I mean? So we don't have a slavery issue. We have a human issue. We're not doing human things. That's what I need people to understand. And I can prove these things with their own records. That's the beauty about about the whole deal. Yeah, you're gonna see things like this coming. I'm telling you, there was a brother named Nasir the Duke of Tears. He talked about this 10 years ago. They're gonna start saying. I literally had a show saying that they were gonna say this exact thing about 8 years at the least, 8 to 10 years ago. So these things we know coming because we know the game.
As I'm thinking about this, and we're gonna get ready to wrap up, guys. This is very informative, but guys, the reason why I brought this up is because y'all know I talk about relationships and marriage, but I think that one of the deeper issues we're dealing with is, number one, conversation fatigue, and then at the root of all this is this this unspoken intergenerational trauma that we deal with based on the effects of slavery and the bad coping strategies for dealing with it going on. So not only do we not know our history, we don't know our culture, but we're dealing with stuff that we can't put words to. And I think
Yeah.
that there's a lot of underlying issues. And if you guys just look this up, this is why it's important and is a necessity to not just go to therapy. Now, guys, I'm going to say this. I want you guys to hear what I'm saying. Just going and getting a therapist to say you got a therapist will do you no justice. If you look at some of the articles in research now, it suggests that a lot of people who are going to therapists are still not getting adequate results from therapy. Why? Because the therapists are not equipped to handle the type of trauma that so many Black people have dealt with. And so it's important to not just find one who's licensed, but find someone that you understand, someone that can understand you and your history and help you to get the tools you need to overcome the long-term effects of this intergenerational trauma. Like Dr. Nakumbi's in the chat. Somebody like him who understands it. Yeah, you guys go ahead and not only just find a therapist, but find one that can speak to the deep-seated issues. Because if we don't take care of this, we're going to lose our kids. We're going to lose them to media. We're going to lose them to technology. To be honest, we lost some of our kids are lost now because the parents are lost. And if we're going to fix this, we got to go back to the root of the issue and not just the branches, Sukiana, the branches, modern women, the branches, baby mamas, right? Those are not the root. Those are branches of a much deeper issue that I think we have to tackle. World Class, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. We get therapy in every way, shape, or form. I'm one of them self-help people, but I use as much professional information as possible, and I'm abnormally disciplined. And you wouldn't realize how much trauma you keep, how much trauma is in how you dress, how much trauma is in how you explain things, how you eat, how you like the subconscious mind is like makes up 95% of the decisions we make consciously. And all of those things, all these holes we have are constantly taking in information while we're alive and while we're woke and while we're asleep. So, which you can use to your advantage, but you would just be surprised at how much stress you've taken in a lifetime. And then when we kind of quantify the standard of how our people are living, as distinguished from how we used to live, I can break down some things that kind of blow your mind. Once you realize it, in nature, there's no right angles. So when you're in these artificial, and this is what you need to realize these cities are, when you're in this artificial environment, you're seeing a lot of things that your genes are reacting to that you don't really understand. It's called gene expression, like epigenetics. Your genes are reacting to these things that used to be threats to you. Red used to be a really, really traumatizing thing to see. Right angles used to be a traumatizing thing to see. Flashing things, like I got around the borders, used to be a traumatizing thing to see. Red and blue at the same time used to be traumatizing things to see. You know what I'm saying? And then these computers and these TV shows are giving certain sounds and frequencies, these artificial environments that we live in. These environments are artificial and synthetic. Are putting the stress on indigenous people. The words we need to supplement it. We all can be under one branch, because some people say they ain't Black. All indigenous people, other than the people we know that are not. You know what I'm saying? We don't live like this. Like, our genes are not designed to live like this. Sometimes we need to be away from these things. Sometimes we need to shut it down. You know what I'm saying? A lot of YouTube. But at the end of the day, how are these things affecting us? We're taking a lot of stress. We hear a lot of stories about this person got hurt, that person got hurt, that person lost their child. That we take in so much stuff. And those of us that are empaths, we're taking a lot of stress, and you need, like Sir Hal Speaks just said, and like Dr. Nakumbi be saying all the time, you need somebody to really be there for the craft. Like I always say, respect the craft. Be there for the craft, and not just because you can, it'll be a good career, to help you kind of work through those things so you can get to the review that traumas encasing you in. It's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of thought to fight through trauma. It's a lot. We grew up as boys, football. I've been hitting my mouth. I've been dropped on my head. I've been shoulder them been put in my chest, and just dealing with blunt force trauma takes a lot of thinking and a lot of breathing just to get back up and keep playing. And you don't got enough time. You got to get back up. You got to keep playing. So life is like that too. We've been hitting the mouth 200, 300 consecutive years. So we're gonna need some time. You know what I'm saying? I think therapy is a must. I've learned how to turn my home sleep into rehabilitation center. That's why I think we need to think our homes in that way. There's a lot of things we can talk about. So I think I'll do that on my channel. I've done a lot of repair with that. So I agree with you thoroughly.
I've got one other question for you as well. So, guys, this has been good. We're getting ready to wrap up. The world class has been a spectacular guest. Everybody just type TWC in the chat. He's been a stellar guest. I just got one other question. How important is it for us to understand our history? And here's why I'm asking you this. It's because most people know about Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, a little bit about the Black Panther Party. You know, we know roots, we know Kunta Kinte, right? We know the basic stuff. We know characters of our history, not history itself. How important is it for us to take the time to understand our history, both as a people in this country, so on and so forth?
Because of the cliches, there's nothing new under the sun. Those who don't know history are doing repeated. Those things are two absolute facts. And everything that we're going through now, principally speaking, has happened already. It's happened principally speaking already. I mean, we watch football, we watch basketball. You know, we watch these things, we watch these movies. We see the same structure over and over again. We kind of know how the game going in. We know how the fourth quarter we know. So that's how history provides, you know, information. Plus, it also gives you a healthy sense of pride of knowing what you come from. I know more is history. I know where we come from. Like Sister Sarazad Ali said, we come from the people that invented thinking. When your skin brown like mine, you come from the people that invented thinking. So when you go through history and you find there's a lot of uncovering of lies. Just if you guys even knew what this country looked like, pictures that exist in museums of the palaces that are in Philadelphia, in Chicago, in New York, the palaces that exist, or structures that exist under your cities. If you knew what we had already when we were here, if you just had a clue, the pride you would have from who you and what you come from, it dramatically changes. And everybody that passed, learning history and learning that most of us are from here changed everything. Because I had an older brother that got killed, right? I have a grandmother that's dead, right? She's Puerto Rican, right? So I know now that they were home and they spent their whole lives thinking they was imported somewhere from somewhere that they weren't from. You know what I mean? It changes everything. From you being an unwanted guest to, hey man, this is all this is going on. This is my shit. You know what I'm saying? This is my stuff. So you take pride on who you are and what you come from, and that everything in this country is yours, your home. To know that your home changes everything, and to know the different things that we've done, that's pun intended, world class. You know what I'm saying? And that's the standard that our ancestors lived by. Operated at a world class level to provide the world that you see. This world that we see now sits on the world that our ancestors built. We invented the numbers 0 through 9. The number 0 was built in America. It was invented in America by Olmecs, who look like me. You understand? So that every number ever has 0 in it. You know what I mean? So those things like that, you have to understand things like that. It changes everything. When you know history, then it's like little things like it helps you be patient, because this story, this guy was patient, and in this story, like you do in the Bible, it teaches calmness. Your time is coming. Winter is coming. It's coming, but then spring is coming, and then summer is coming, and then fall is coming, harvest is coming. So I don't have to bet it all today, and then I don't have to do it by myself. History is one of the most. It's like a binder. It brings everybody together. It's family. So it don't matter who passed away, all still the same family. Whether they died 200 million years ago, all family. So man is not the body or the soul. Man is the spirit. What you realize, and history will teach you, that you're not the only one that's been through this, and you have an inheritance, true wealth, that people have solved this problem 2,000 times, 2,000 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have to stress. But what you got to do? Oh, do that. I got to go to this mountain and say what? I got to do this. Okay, cool. It's no stress. It's one of the big stress relievers. One of the biggest stress relievers is history. Ain't that my problems? Ain't that damn special?
Excellent. Everybody, show your love for the world class. Yeah, I brought him on because this guy is very astute in terms of his history. And I thought it was this conversation necessitated somebody with that perspective. Guys, it's important. Read a book. Like, for real, y'all. I mean this seriously. Read a book. Like, don't just be online looking through articles and just mulling through stuff. Like, really take some time and read. Understand your history. A lot of y'all are fighting against stuff and don't even know what you're fighting against. A lot of you want to take a stand, but don't know what you're standing for. Take some time and learn, read a book, learn your history. If you are blessed to have elders in your life, people who are born in the 40s, 50s, 60s, leverage their experience. They might not be as articulate, might not be college educated, but one thing that they probably do have is experience. And experience is a great teacher. So if you've got that, take some time to learn your history, because a lot of times you're stressing about your future because you don't understand what you come from. World class?
Indeed. I just want a guy that I learned from a brother of mine, OG of mine. His name is Asir, the Duke of Tears. One of the best historians that I've came across, because he not only does he uncover it, he show you how they're using it in real time, which is the most important part about history, is how the world is using that information in real time. So it's Asir, the Duke of Tears, Aseer, then the Duke of Tears, Tier. You know what I'm saying? You know, so look him up on YouTube. He's been on YouTube for 15, 20 years. He's been on there forever. He got hours of stuff on history, breaking it down, museums, maps, everything, showing you where you really came from at the highest level. I don't. It's not nobody even touching. So I'm not the big historian guy. I talk about history because I benefited. He's on an entirely different level. You know what I'm saying? Is other people, but yeah, brothers. When it comes to history and the research and the document number, congressional record number, all of that, he's the best. So that's it. Duke of Tears, and with his wife Selena. Just want to throw that out there.
Excellent. Well, world class. It has been great talking with you, man. This is the first collab, the first official collab, man, and I think this has been dope. Those are in the chat. Did you guys enjoy this conversation? I think this was really good. World class, before you go, do us a favor. Let us know how we can connect with you as well. And I've got people in the comments who are wondering what your channel is. Let us know how we can connect with you and then what your channel is about as well.
Yeah, appreciate it. So appreciate you for having me up. This is definitely a dope collab. We got many type of collabs like that coming. We're going to be pushing this intelligence like area of YouTube as much as possible with the circle we have. So I appreciate you for having me. I appreciate your channel. Everybody that's been in the chat, please share, like, get this out to as many people as possible. On IG, I am the world class. That's just the with two E's, the world class, and the world class on YouTube. And then email theworldclass@gmail.com. My goal is just to update you. Is to initiate the public. Because we just need to be brought up. The public has been left out, and do the best I can to bring people up to speed. Very different. You know what I'm saying? I'm not normal, but I'm not really a teacher. I'm more of a mentor, but there's not too many people that are like me in this space, in public period, that just know what's needed to be done. So, like I said on my channel, every perspective I come from, first and foremost, is as a dad. And I'm in this space because I'm not going to sit around and not do my part and then my son go, "Dad, why you didn't do your part?" That's my motivation for being out here in this space. It's because I'm a dad and because I'm not going to sit on my hind parts and let the next generation not get what they deserve. I'm tired of it. It's not happening on my watch. And for my generation to be the greatest generation of all time, because I was here. So, I say, Sir Ho speaks, and there been two classes on this planet, never been three. You were world class or you outclass. The question is not which class do you want to live in. The question is which class do the young ones coming behind you deserve for you to die in, on your feet or on your knees. Respect the craft. No. You muted.
Everybody show your love for the world class. Absolutely dope, man. I got to come up with a nice sound as well. Give me a couple of weeks, bro. I was dope.
I appreciate you.
Everybody show your love for the world class. That was dope, man. We got to do this again soon, bro.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, y'all. That was dope. That was a dope collaboration. That was dope. That was dope. This is the kind of conversations we're going to continue to have. And guys, know that we can all be crazy, have a good time, make jokes and stuff, but don't underestimate the intellect and intelligence that we have within our sector of YouTube. Not only where we are now, but we're aspiring to grow bigger and to have a bigger audience and to scale out in terms of the topics we talk about. We can do this, y'all. We can have a good time, but we can talk about things that empower us and uplift as well. So much respect to the world-class moderators, Lady Navoa. Thank you guys so much for dropping his link. Everybody, please go and support. We're going to have more conversations like this. Before we get out of here, everybody, please do me this favor. Do not sleep on what's going on in your country. Do not sleep on what's going on in your community. Things are changing right under our noses. And oftentimes when something big happens, something major happens, whether it's a celebrity or something that's just, out of the norm, I want you guys to start putting the ear to what's going on in the political sphere. Because what you'll start to notice is that it seems as if when we're distracted by these events that really don't have any bearing on your life itself, that there were changes being made, bills being passed that could affect not only you, but the generations to come. So let's all do a better job of staying informed, right? Let's not take what we remembered 10 years ago, talking points from a year ago, update yourself, find new ways to absorb new information so that we stay current and relevant and that we can really teach our kids. And when we talk, we can have intellectual conversations about things that are not only affecting our now, but that are going to shape our future as well. All right. So listen. And then the last thing that I'll say is, please, guys, don't let this situation with Carly Russell distract from the fact that there were a lot of our women, particularly Black women, who go missing a year. They don't get any national coverage. They don't get any attention. The most you might see them, and shout out to Walmart for doing this, is you might see them on the wall for missing people. Guys, our community is suffering, and with the corrosion, with the breakdown of the nuclear family, it has opened up the doorway for all type of ungodly things to occur that's affecting us now. So while we talk about what women need to be, I want you guys to understand that those conversations are linked to a much larger conversation about what's going on, not only in the Black community, but in this country as well. So when we talk about these things, please understand that it's not isolated. Everything that we talk about is connected to something greater. And the ultimate goal for us is to make sure that we leave this world in a better condition for our kids when it's our time to go. All right, until next time, everybody, much love to you. Much love to your family. I'll talk with you guys again soon. We'll be back again Wednesday for another dope show. Until next time, educate yourself, know your history, because you come from great stock and you've got greatness in you. Until next time, we'll talk with you guys again soon. Peace.
Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. Yeah, girl, cold blood. Yeah, 너와 있을 때 I swear. 제가 zero. 폭설한 기출들. 꿈에도 I wasn't dumb. 나만 빼고 넌 모두에게 참 친절해. 내 신감이 들어 단판이 돼도 머릿속을 흔드니 ibuprofen 그만해 it's time to stop. 승부욕을 자극하는 style. Yeah, 알면서도 마음이 자꾸 내게 가. 안만 빠져버릴까. If you want me back, I'll tell you I'm sorry. If you want me back, I'll tell you stop trying. Yeah, you got me. Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. Yeah, girl, you cold-blooded. Yeah, girl, you cold-blooded. Girl, you cold-blooded. Girl, you cold-blooded. I'm like frozen 뭐야 모두 straight. 어느 순간을 let it go 했어 소개팅 데이팅 어플 다 깔아도 보았어 반대가 끌린대 opposites attract Don't know about me and you, yeah we fell into the cracks Yeah 갖고 노네 no cap 왜 나는 보여 what's happening 객관적일 수가 없이 이미 game white flag and waving fast Yeah I'm leaving back but 말해도 너만 보면 나도 내 맘 I don't know 이거 love a relationship 헷갈리기만 해 girl I'll tell you I'm sorry if you want me back I'll tell you stop trying Yeah, yeah, you got me Let it go 얼어붙어 like whoa 어지러워 I see 한여름에도 너겨울 너의 cold-blooded Let it go 얼어붙어 like whoa 어지러워 I see 한여름에도 너겨울 너의 cold-blooded 너의 cold-blooded Yeah, yeah, yeah Girl, you cold-blooded Girl, you cold-blooded Yeah, girl, you cold-blooded Yeah, yeah, yeah Girl, you cold-blooded Girl, you cold-blooded